The family and the victims, the people the most to say about the story are the people that live right here on Seymour Avenue. Let me bring in News Channel 5's Tracy Carlos, live on 5. Tracy, you spent the day in the neighborhood. What are neighbors saying about his suicide?
Well, you know, Chris, back in May when the 3 women escaped, there was that feeling of shock and disbelief. And again today, neighbors here with that same feeling of shock and disbelief among those who live here, as well as those who stopped by here, who drove down the street to take a look. You know, a steady stream of cars all day long making their way up and down Seymour Avenue, some pausing to look at where Castro's home once stood. Of course, today there is a park, and many people who we spoke with expressed shock and disbelief when they heard the news that Castro has committed suicide in prison. One neighbor who knew him for 20 years says he had 2 personalities. She says he was a good person when he was outside of the house, an evil monster when he was behind closed doors. And another neighbor that we spoke with today also says that this community has changed, not just in the way that it looks, but in the way that people act. They now care for one another a little bit more, Chris, and that's just some of the examples of how, you know, this whole thing has changed this neighborhood.
Right. And Tracy, I know you've covered the story since day one, since the girls were kidnapped as girls. You've been with it for 10 years. What are your thoughts now for what happened last night? Is it some finality to it now?
You know, I think for me personally, it has been shock since day one. First, Amanda turned up missing. Then almost a year later, Gina in that same area turns up missing, and it was shock. To that night that those 3 women were found here alive, I mean, that was just speechless. And that doesn't really happen too much when you cover the kind of stories that we do. And again today when I saw it, I thought, you know, I don't know how much more shocking this story can really be.
Yeah.